I have really been struggling lately, and it's not financial. Hey, everybody. My name is JJ. You're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust, back with another dose of you know what, the BX4 Bull to the Bust. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is going to be a little bit of a different video today. Today, it's financial related, of course, just like most things we talked about here. But I just want to talk in general about what makes us happy as people. What makes you happy? What makes me happy? And those are different things. I've been struggling lately with. I've got a bad skin condition. You guys might know I've often have my coat zipped up here and got this skin breakout that's been happening for quite a long time. I've eliminated lots of different foods out of my diet, my regimen, in order to try to find out what it is. So I'm going in for some medical testing here in the next week or so. Got to get an appointment. Um, and try to get a blood test and try to see what's going on. Could be thyroid stuff, right? That's causing this. But I'm very careful about what I eat. But what I wanted to tie this in with, which is financial, is what makes us happy. What makes us happy? So financially, I'm doing. I mean, okay. I mean, pretty good for someone that's living in an expensive state like California with a family and a lot of expenses we have with kids with special needs and things like that. One kid in particular, a lot of special needs because of stuff, medical stuff, and it could be worse. And he's improving, so that's why I still look at it as a positive thing. As long as you're improving, I can always be positive about that. There's been times when I've been completely wiped out, but just getting your footing back and making slow progress, to me, that's happiness. But lately, I haven't been able to do like the activities that I like to do, because if I start sweating, then my skin starts breaking out even worse. And I'm very careful about what I consume, so I know it's not some things that a lot of you people or some of you people out there might be thinking. I'm very careful about what I consume. But this condition has made me really stressed out. I mean, I'm more stressed out now. You may not see it because I'm pretty calm and collective in these videos. I'm not someone that freaks out easily. But on the inside, I'm really, man, I just don't feel like I don't feel good like I used to feel. Um, a lot of it's sleep. It's harder to get sleep when you have a skin condition. But I'm more unhappy now than when I was completely wiped out. I'm talking financially broken, wiped out, and that's because there's just certain things that make me happy. I remember when I first moved to California back in 2000, I got a membership at this gym called 24 Hour Fitness, and I just thought it was a cool thing back then. I moved out here. I sold assets that I had in Michigan. I had a home and land that was paid off in Michigan, so I could have almost retired in my 20s. I know that seems crazy to have something paid off in such a young age. Sold it all. Came out to California. I knew it was going to be a big step, but back then I wasn't happy. I was working part time. Um, I had a combination of luck and investments back then that allowed me to have a home and land that were paid off. So I knew selling the land and coming out here where things were a lot more expensive, that I'm going to have to start working full time again, which I did. And I knew that I was going to have to be very careful about the way that I spent money, unless I, did something to get really rich very quickly, which I wouldn't consider myself rich at all. But back then, I wasn't happy either, even though I was very financially well off. Didn't even have to work full time anymore. I had to work some to just have some income to pay the bills and keep up those payments that never end, like insurance, food, utilities. I mean, those things are never going to pay off. Those are just ongoing and continuous taxes. But I wasn't happy, and I was working, had work in a manufacturing facility. Moved my way up at the company in just a couple short years. Um, not that that's makes me talented or anything. I think I was just in the right place at the right time, and things were very cheap back then. So I was able to, get get an investment, pay it off, and had a little bit of inheritance stuff like that to help me out. So it was a combination of what I say luck or just being a little bit lucky, but also living in a low cost area now. I look at the prices in Michigan now. Homes in Michigan now are where home prices were in California just about 7 or 8 years ago. And California, even back then, was expensive to most people, in the country that looked at the cost of living here and prices and housing and the cost of here, everything here in California. But my point about all this is money doesn't buy happiness. I wasn't happy back then, even though I had those assets that were paid off. I was not even working full time. And some of you might say, "Oh man, you're trying to think of the right word here. You're a lightweight, or you're not thankful for what you had." I'm thankful, but I don't know if it was the weather, the winter time. The winter time would really kind of drag me down. I had a four-wheel drive, one of these lifted trucks. So I kind of grew up in a country setting where a lot of people had lifted trucks and stuff like that. So I come from kind of a very small town type of place, population 3,000 people, very small town, Southwest Michigan. Farming community, a lot of farmers. Came from a farming family, and that's one of the ways I got land, right? So I got land that was basically not given to me for free, but given to me at a very low cost that my grandfather had used for farming. Well, as he got older, he started making his farm smaller and smaller. So he put the land up for sale, part of his land, because he wasn't farming as much. And I moved a home onto the land. And so the land was very almost given to me, not quite free, but so then you kind of see what I was talking about earlier. So I was very different back then. And when I say different, I would do a lot of music stuff. Had a band. We played shows around there, around Southwest Michigan, Northern Indiana, a couple in Ohio, and it was fun. And I could sleep as late as I want. I could stay up as late as I want. So you could probably imagine, the type of person I was back then compared to how I am now. And actually, now I have the skin problems. Back then, I had no problems at all. I was healthy, really healthy. I didn't watch what I ate, didn't watch what I drank very much at all. But the point is, what makes you happy, right? So back then, again, I could sleep as late as I want. I could stay up as late as I want. I was financially fine. I just needed to make enough to pay those month-to-month bills because things were paid off. Vehicle even paid off too. I bought a used one. Had a Ford Bronco. It was lifted, and it was the kind where the top came off. So in the summertime, in the wintertime too, but mostly in the summertime was when I would take it off, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, but I knew that I wanted to do something more, try something more. So I came out to California, originally for a music project. Back then, like I said, I was into music. Came out here, and there was a artist that was looking for what I did with music, and this was a artist that had toured with signed, and I'm talking about signed to a record label, musicians, and it was very promising. It was a side project for this person, but this person had worked with and had toured with bands that probably a lot of you people have heard of. And I don't want to do name dropping here because it's not important now, but the point is that I always had the desire to do something else. I didn't want to, work in a factory back in Michigan. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's people that make great livings working in factories. But I knew I wanted to do more. So I came out here. It was the most exciting thing I ever did. Came out here, got a family, and I love California. I'm not happy at the direction California's headed. So that's one thing that's kind of made me a bit bummed out about California. It's so beautiful back when I came out here in the early 2000s, and it's still beautiful now. But there's big problems that are not being resolved, and nobody's even talking about resolving them. In fact, things are getting a lot worse here in California with the homelessness, the cost of living, the amount of debt that you have to take on just to get by. I'm lucky to be able to pay off debt every month, and that's why I say I'm still okay financially. But not being able to do the things I like to do every day. I used to go for jogs. I used to go to the gym. 24-hour Fitness has a basketball court and one that's not too far from me. I used to go up there and run basketball 4, 5, 6 games sometimes in a row. Now I can't do that because of this the skin thing. And so I'm realizing that looking back at my life here, not that I'm on my way to the cemetery or anything, but just looking back at my life so far, it's non-financial things that actually make me the most happy. And I know you would think back when I had everything paid off, that would have been the best time because I didn't have to work full time. I had all this extra time to do what I wanted, but there was always this desire for something else. And I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And when I came to California, I learned about the music industry and how being signed to a record label really makes you, it almost makes you a puppet because you have to tour when they say to tour, unless you're so successful that you can just call your own shots. But most people with a record deal are basically puppets to their record label. Okay, you have to go on tour, and what if you're sick? What if you don't feel good? What if your family member is ill and you need to help family? And the reason I say that is because I've also had adults in my family that I've had to almost kind of take care of because of unfortunate things that happened and just things that naturally happen as most people get older. But my point about all this is find what really makes you happy. Some people are happy working, and some people feel really lost when they're not working. And I know how that feels too, especially if you don't have a vision or a focus or a hobby that you're passionate about. You almost feel like you're wasting your time if you're not doing something, including working. For some people, that's working. For other people, that's art, that's being creative. A big part of this for me is this channel, even though this is not a very big channel, I really like being able to interact with the audience. It's one thing that makes me happy. So even if things were a lot different, I would still probably do this just as an outlet. Even if this whole platform, ceased to exist, I'll still do it maybe somewhere else just to be able to interact with everybody, right? So find what makes you happy. That's what I'm saying. And health is wealth. I can't stress that enough. Again, I haven't been able to work out like I usually do. I used to love working out. Let me get back to that because I started talking about that. I had this gym membership, and I just remember this feeling. I think people in the fitness world would call it endorphins. This feeling as soon as I went into the gym and started my workout, I would always start off on the bike, a little cardio. Then I would do jumping rope. When I had a gym membership at this boxing gym, I would hit the bag and stuff like that. And I would just get this feeling, of joy. And it went throughout my body. I think it's endorphins. And I just felt really good. I was probably the happiest I would feel during the day as at the beginning of the workout. I was starting in. And I don't know why it made me feel so good. So now I'm realizing that that's what I need to focus on. I need to focus on being able to do physical activities and other physical activity, not even working out. Doing yard work makes me feel really good. Being outside, doing yard work, planting things, planting trees, watching the trees grow, planting different things. But it's very, very difficult unless you have the right equipment. I had a story, I think maybe a couple years ago, where I started this garden and the animals kept coming in and eating the stuff. And I had to put up fencing. And then it got so hot in the summertime here that if I left town for even a few days, I'd come back and the plants would be dead. Tomato plants gone in just like 4 days or 5 days because I wasn't here to water them. So then I was like, okay, I got to hook up a sprinkler system or get somebody to come over and water them, every couple of days. And it turned out to be more time and planning and just consumed a lot of my day that I stopped doing it. So I'm just going to buy stuff from the store. So I still grow a few things now, but as far as the big garden and being off of the dependence on going to the grocery store, not even close to that. So that was one of the things I wanted to do, but not easy here in California. All right. So point is, again, on this video, do what makes you happy, but you can't do just what makes you happy. Otherwise, you may not have an income unless you have so much savings where you don't have to worry about even paying any of your month-to-month expenses. But that's a very small percentage of the population. And if you noticed, even the people that can stop working completely, we're talking about the billionaires, the Buffetts, the Bezoses, all these people Do they stop working? Are they just chilling on the beach or on their yacht? Well, yeah, they're doing that part of the time, but they're also still expanding. Look at how Amazon's growing and growing and raising their prices. Obviously, someone is not satisfied with the wealth they already had because they still keep on raising their prices. Did Warren Buffett stop investing after his first several $1,000,000? No, he kept going. So there's this urge out there. There's this desire to keep growing, to keep moving. Even if you're very successful financially, even if you're to the point where you're not working anymore, you're retired, you can go on the beach every day. I was listening to an interview the other day. It was someone that was retired, and they said they had went to the beach and stuff like that, stuff they always envisioned themselves doing, being retired, sitting on the beach with a drink, with a little umbrella, um, in your little recliner chair, listening to music. And they said they could only do that for a very short amount of time before they got back to work, and they voluntarily did it because that's what made them feel the best. All right, so 2024 is going to be my year where I feel like I need to. I'm going to continue on this channel. But I feel like I need to focus more on health. So you may not see as many videos as you did. I used to put them out every day, then I start missing a day every once in a while. Now it's maybe 4 to 5 a week on a good week. And so I just wanted to put this out there and just have us all collectively, think about what makes you happy. Is it just money, or do you have other things that you desire? Maybe time. Maybe time is something you desire more than money. To some people, if you gave them the choice of not working anymore at all, but just being able to do what they want, a lot of people would pick that. But the thing is, with ongoing expenses that never go away, like the ones I mentioned earlier in this video, very difficult to do that unless you're multi-billionaire. But then what we talked about, the billionaires sometimes don't want to stop either. They always want to grow. They always want to evolve, right? So what makes you happy? Please let me know down in the comments. Is it a hobby of yours? Is it your family? Once you have a family, and I have kids now, I've realized that being with family is one of the things that makes me the most happiest. And we had a big family get together over the holidays, after Christmas, going into New Year's. Amazing time. Family came in from out of town. Family member of ours just had a baby, 8-month-old baby. The people that hosted this had a new dog that they had gotten recently. It was just a very, very fun time. It was just a feeling of joy in the air for everybody. People had time off of work, and to get to that place where we could do that every month or something like that, that would be just perfect. But the people that came into town, they had this rare opportunity over the holidays to actually do this traveling, and people still are traveling a lot, even with all the debt out there in the economy. And I think that's why, and I wanted to put this in here as well, mention this. That's why people continually swipe the card and go deeper into debt. And most of the population has to know that they're not going to pay this debt off. So why not just have fun? And why not just keep on traveling, keep on doing the things you like to do? Because that makes you happy and you don't mind carrying debt. That's what people choose to do in many cases. And that's why we continue to see these boom and bust cycles where people just spend, 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 spend. And then the bust happens. We're at a point now where we're questioning, is there ever going to be the bust? It's been boom, 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 boom. If you remember going back to 2020, when people said everything was going to crash, as soon as we saw the rescue programs coming out, we knew, I say most people here on this channel, but most people didn't know. Most people thought everything was going to crash. As soon as I saw these rescue programs coming out, I was one of the few channels saying, no, things are going to continue to go higher. Inflation is going to get worse. Some people, that was a doom and gloom type of stance. To other people, that was a bullish stance because you're saying prices are going to go higher. So it all depends on how you look at it. But my point about that is that things don't always have to repeat the way they had previously. So past performance isn't indicative of future results. And look at the housing market. Look at everything else that's being propped up right now. Now look at the banks. The banks are on life support right now. Most people wouldn't know that. And that's a lot different than what we saw back then, talking about the financial crisis. All right, so there could be, and I say could be, and obviously this is something that everybody knows, something huge could happen. But before you criticize me, I want to put the risks out there, because you could sit there and say, well, anybody could say something big could happen. That's always true. Look at all the risks right now. We have escalation of war happening right now. And I said this was going to happen. I said we were going to get more involved in these conflicts. U.S. carries out new strike in Yemen after leaders vow to keep pressure on. So we're basically getting more involved in these conflicts. And remember when it was just, we went over there just for security operations, and I said, no, it's going to be boots on the ground. It's going to be missiles flying. It's going to get worse. It's going to it's going to escalate. So here we are. U.S. now involved in strikes. Um, dozens of U.S. and British strikes on Iran-backed groups and facilities. Now, I don't get much into geopolitics, but you can see the writing on the wall. I think we're making a lot of enemies across the world. Look at all the countries that are turning their back on trading in U.S. dollars. That was unheard of just a few years ago. It was unheard of. The countries would even think about doing that. That was an act of war just a few years ago. Now there's such a big um, population segment of the world, so many different countries that are doing this. The U.S., we can't stop it. So how's it going to end? Maybe nothing bad at all. Maybe we'll just continue like we're seeing right now, just the high cost of living, people living off of debt, and but when you look at the quality of life, sometimes that's not a bad thing when you compare the quality of life here in the U.S. with the ability to borrow money and spend and spend and spend, and if everything goes wrong, you just file bankruptcy and start over again. It's actually not a bad way of life when you look at some other countries in the world. But to others, including myself, I would like to see big changes. And that doesn't mean I'm hoping for an economic collapse. It does mean, though, I want certain systems to maybe fail and collapse, and then pick up the pieces and start over with something else where you just don't see so many people struggling. I don't like to see all this stress in society. People are stressed out financially and for many other reasons. And just overall, I'd like to see things get better. Not for myself. I'm okay, except for this skin issue I'm talking about here. But so I'll let you know how my progress goes here. I want to get back to just having fun, being an outdoor person, playing sports, going swimming. I couldn't even swim because my skin issue here. Um, things I love doing, right? So I want to get back to that. I want to make it a more happy 2024 for my family, myself, and everyone around me. And for all of you here, please let me know down in the comments, what are you doing this year? What is your goal? Is it financial? Is it just to have more time? Because that can be financial too when you maybe pay off debt and you don't have so many financial obligations. Then you have more time to do what you love to do. What is that for you? I'd like to hear from you on this one, folks. Thanks for watching this. I'm glad you watched it till the end. For those of you that are still here, appreciate it. We'll be back with more financial economic news. We have a holiday coming up here, so I just thought I would do more of a laid back, different type of video for you today. Thanks everybody for watching. As always, keep stacking big love. Bye for now, everybody. Peace.